the Pravasi Odia Vikash Samiti. This is one of the largest sociocultural body in Delhi NCR. It has started, and it has its presence throughout the globe now. And we are doing this program. This is a web series that started here. We have done many programs that will be informed to you. This web series is for the sustainable development of environment, sustainable environment, and self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. The country is not new. It is the golden bird. And for 50,000 years, it has come to know that it is a golden bird. And today, we are behind 5 trillion economy. Okay. When we are our contribution was 70% to the world GDP, somewhere it was 30% to the world GDP. Now it is reduced, and we are just trying to thrive for the best position in the world. For that, we need many development things, many aspects are there, and the weather and environment is one aspect. And India is a multi-weather country. Somewhere it is cold, somewhere it is hot, somewhere is the diversity in the world is itself in India. There is a desert, there is glacier, there is a sea. All things are there, and we have all type of weather disturbances, environmental issues, and for the development, it is required that environment should be protected. Environment we should give our proper environment to our future generation, and the issues lies in the destruction part where we are in trouble. It started from the east coast. There is cyclone, super cyclone, and many things are happening. Once upon a time, Odisha was the hub where everybody, all over the Southeast Asian region, the people of Odisha had business relationship, and now we are thriving for that. Even if the people of Odisha do not go to sea for peace, they depend upon other people, other state people. So what was the issue? Might be super cyclone, might be cyclone not before long ago, and on this, the POVS has been pursuing all this thing for the development of Odisha, for the development of the nation, for the development of the country as a whole. Now, I will request Dr. Dheeraj Singh. He will introduce he will welcome and introduce our guest. Our guest is the weatherman of India, Professor Dr. Mrutyunjay Mahapatra. Sir, namaskar. And Mr. H.H. Das is the IS officer, and he is the chairman of Gujarat SCA. Next, our another guest is Sushant Kumar Patnaik. He is the chief conservator of Uttarakhand government, and there was also cloud busting issues are there. In Gujarat, there is issue of that Bhuj tremor was there. So all these issues are there, and now I give it to Dr. Dheeraj Kumar Singh, the chairman, the managing director of GRC, and vice president of POVS, and a lot of laurel is with him. Next to Mr. Dr. Dheeraj Kumar Singh. Thank you.
Good evening, Jai Jagannath, and very warm welcome to this first edition of National Webinar Series organized by Pravasi Odia Vikash Samiti, BRICS Chambers of Commerce and Industries, Services Export Promotion Council, GRC India, and the Policy Times. It is indeed a pleasure for us today that many experienced professionals are available to share their valuable thoughts on the subject. Today, we have amongst us various eminent guests, speakers, learned personnel, my respected friends, and other associated with this national webinar. My sincere gratitude and thanks to each one of you for giving their kind consent and taking their valuable time for being part of this webinar. The topic for today's webinar is Environmental Sustainability for Self-Reliant India. To introduce the panel for today's webinar, we have amongst us Dr. Mrityunjay Mohapatra ji, Director General of Meteorology, Indian Meteorological Department, Sri H.K. Das ji, IS Officer and Chairman of State Environment Impact Assessment Authority, Government of Gujarat, Sri Sushant Kumar Patnaik ji, an IFS Officer and Chief Conservator of Forest, Government of Uttarakhand. I would like to thank the organizing committee of POVS, who has given their valuable time in conceptualizing and organizing this webinar. Company Secretary Suryanarayan Mishra ji is the President of POVS. Srimati Vijayan N. Das, General Secretary POVS, Professor Satyabhushan Das, Chief Convener POVS, and he is a professor in IIM Lucknow. Dr. Jeena Patnaik, Convener POVS, Professor Ashutosh Mahanti, Coordinator, Sri Subhasis Samal, Joint Coordinator, Sri Sushant Mohapatra, Joint Coordinator. Apart from that, I would like to thank the other team members from GRC India, SCPC, BRICS, and Policy Times for their valuable contribution towards holding this webinar series. Environment nowadays has become of prime importance, and I feel that each individual should take this responsibility to safeguard our environment in whatever ways they can. The environmental issues typically addressed in today's world consist of air and water pollution, waste management, ecosystem management, biodiversity protection, protection of natural resources, wildlife and endangered species, and many more. Environmental sustainability as a subject means to conserve these natural resources and protect our global ecosystems to support the health and well-being of humans and animals present in this universe. Apart from being the Vice President of Pravasi Odia Vikash Samiti, I am also the Chairperson of Executive Connect, where my perspective is that any topic of concern, if it is talked about in a meeting, seminar, conference, or webinars, must be taken seriously, and it should be vigorously pursued towards the policy level amendments if required. As leaders, we should own some important aspects of life and should take them to the next level where our future generations can take benefit. POBS as a unit is performing well at their level and catering to all the issues in Odisha state, and we wish that it should be taken to the next level as sky is the limit for us. And with the blessings of Lord Jagannath, we all will be able to succeed and do something good for our Mother Earth. I would like to conclude with few lines. ए धरा पृष्ठ को आसीची ताकू दिने ना दिने जीवाकू पड़िबो किंतु जीवा पूर्व आमे जदि किछि महत्वपूर्ण कार्य करिवा ताहले मन को शांति लागिबो जे आमे हमर सहपाठी अबंग लोक मानक पई किछि करि पारिले. थैंक यू. जय हिंद. ओवर टू सूर्य भाई.
Ajira jo theme achi, today's theme, and I will request Engineer Sushant Kumar Mahapatra, our treasurer, to introduce the theme. Thank you. Sushant Kumar.
Hello.
Sushant?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, good evening, dear eminent speakers, organizers, and guests. Today's theme is environmental sustainability for self-reliant.
Open your video.
Sushant, you are not audible. Sushant, you are not audible. Susan, some technical issues. Some technical issues, no issue. Now I request Vijayanavi Madam. She is the General Secretary of the POVS. She will tell something about the POVS within 2 minutes.
Thank you, Suryabhai. Good evening, everyone. Warm namaskar to all my eminent guests and great participants. Pravasi Odia Bikash Samiti POVS is not for a profit social cultural organization. It was created by some nationalist non-resident Odias who regularly met and discussed about the state of non-resident Odias and residents Odias and how they will live a comfortable and dignified life and their contribution to the development of Odisha and the nation as a whole. In the year of 2012, it was saved and registered in 2014. In New Delhi, with registration number District East Society 14512015 POVS connects the Odia diasporas staying beyond the boundaries of Odisha to be tuned to with the root and assimilates with the heritage, tradition, culture, like literature, history, present day development. It mobilizes the intent of the people for the development of Odia and diasporas in and beyond Odisha. Today, POVS is a strong organization with 5,000 or more individuals and family members. This is possible due to individuals stepping forward to support different activities with innovative ideas, which, when implemented, benefits us for all. The organization has now spread into major cities in India and abroad, which operate as a social umbrella for different regions in India and the world. The chapters arrange various activities such as religious festivals, social get-togethers, cultural events, and participate in the cultural life of the local community as representatives of Odia culture. Beside the program, which is happened to be Odia New Year, is the centerpiece of the organization's activity. POVS, an organization whose stated goals are to promote the culture of the Indian state of Odisha throughout the world, facilitate the development of Pravasi Odia and Odisha, and contribute in the progress of the individuals and the states, and to facilitate the exchange of information between Odisha and the world. I will not be a wall between you and the speaker. Thanking you all. Over to Suryabhai, please.
Thank you, Vijayanavi Moni.
Hello.
Now, Dr. Manoranjan Hota, former advisor, Minister for Environment, Government of India, he has joined. He will be the guest of honor of this program. Professor Satyabhushan Das has also joined. So now I would like to request the weatherman, the great son of India, Odisha, Dr. Mrityunjay Mahapatra, to speak on the topic, the self-reliant Odisha. The topic is self-reliant India and Odisha in particular. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, good evening to all of you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Dear and
Sir,
respected,
good evening, sir.
dear and respected President, Vice President, and office bearers of Pravasi Odia Bikash Samiti, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I congratulate Pravasi Odia Bikash Samiti for organizing this webinar series and inviting me to be a part of it. As all of us know, the sustainable environment is the prerequisite for any kind of development in the socioeconomic conditions of any society, especially in view of the ongoing impact of the climate change. So when we consider India, the country is also confronted by the various threats due to the climate change, and hence it becomes a challenge to ensure the sustainable development with the sustainable environment. While we consider specifically Odisha state, it becomes more challenging because Odisha is such a state which experiences almost all types of disasters what India experiences. And sometimes I used to say that Odisha is gateway to the natural disasters of the country, like Mumbai is the economic gateway. So I'll just share my PPT. I'll request you to please bear with me. So I've been told to give a talk about weather services for self-reliant Odisha. So if you just think about the self-reliance or Atmanirbharta, there are basically the 5 pillars based on which the self-reliance is developed according to Honorable Prime Minister of the country. The first and foremost is that the economy. If you look at the way in which we are moving forward, or we have moved forward, that has shown a different types of changes, as the President was telling about. The rate at which the economy is improving needs to be improved further, and economy has to have a quantum jump instead of improving in a crawling space. We should have a quantum jump instead of an incremental change in our economy. The second pillar for the Atmanirbharta or self-reliance is the infrastructure. We should have an infrastructure which can become the identity of the modern India, which can fulfill the aspirations, the young generation in 21st century. The third pillar of the Atmanirbharta is the system. We should have a system that does not follow norms of previous century, but it should be able to fulfill 21st century dreams and be technology driven. So therefore, science and technology plays a dominant role in the self-reliance of the country. While carrying out this improvement with respect to economy, infrastructure, and system, the democracy becomes a strength and energy for all of us, because India is maturing to a vibrant democracy as it is celebrating 75th years of independence. At the same time, over the years, due to the improvement in socioeconomic conditions, the demand of the people has increased. And in the present day society, the demand supply chain is our power. As you can see, taking for example the weather forecasting, perhaps when we are all in the childhood, if you remember, nobody bothered about the weather forecasting or about the weather informations. Even people did not believe when there was no information about the weather. But now, at the individual level even, the people are curious about to know the expected weather on the day as they plan for their day-to-day activity, or they plan for a community activity, or an agricultural activity, or industrial or human health activities. So therefore, I will suggest, or I will say that the self-reliance is a very contemporary approach which has been taken up by the country, and with the support and strength of democracy and demand with us, is a very good opportunity to improve our economy with a quantum jump, improve our infrastructure system to the 21st century with the involvement of science and technology. Now, coming to weather and climate services for self-reliance, you will find that India Meteorological Department is the organization in the country which is the nodal agency to provide weather and climate services. And its vision says that it would provide the optimum operation of weather and climate sensitive activities. And hence, it will enable the enhancement of the economy. I just want to say that in the present scenario, if you just look at any sector of the socioeconomic status of the country, you will find that weather and climate plays a dominant role, be it the agriculture or industry or health or power, or even the renewable energy, which we are talking about. Now, everywhere, the information and knowledge about the weather and climate plays a dominant role to improve the economy. At the same time, as I was telling that Odisha is just like a gateway of natural disasters. We experience a number of natural disasters in the form of the cyclones, floods, droughts, heat waves, cold waves. And all these lead to huge loss of lives and property. Over the years, of course, the number of loss of life and property, life has been reduced, but property is still a challenge. And loss of property is increasing over the years. It is mainly because the economic status of the country, economic status of Odisha is improving. So the IMD has the vision that no weather should go undetected and unpredicted. So therefore, no hazard will go undetected and unpredicted. And accurate warnings against the hazards with reasonable lead time, triggering response from disaster managers to save the public life and property. So to carry out all these things, India Meteorology Department works on 5 pillars. The first and foremost pillar is the observations and monitoring. Meteorology is such a science which is non-linear nature, and where the weather and climate develop as the byproduct due to interaction of various types of forces occurring in the environment, that means atmosphere, ocean, and earth. And being a non-linear science, it greatly depends upon the initial status of the environment system. So therefore, it becomes essential to have very frequent observations, accurate observations, dense observations throughout the globe to monitor the weather, and hence that becomes the key to improve the weather forecast. At the same time, the numerical modeling, that is numerical prediction models, are developed and utilized to simulate the atmosphere and hence to simulate the weather and climate conditions and predict it for different space and time scales. So while doing so, the information about the expected severe weather is provided to the general public and disaster managers in terms of severe weather. We further go for sectoral applications so that each and every socioeconomic sector gets benefited to improve the economy, utilizing the weather and climate informations. To support all these activities, the R&D is key part, and hence the science and technology and innovation policy, which has been adopted by Government of India last year, plays a dominant role to support and enhance the research and development in the field of meteorology, and hence to support the weather services. So with all these visions and strategy, what we do actually, we go for augmenting the atmospheric observations, developing the adequate modeling strategy, and we conduct the cutting-edge research and invest in human resource development in terms of the capacity building and the training program. So just I was telling that there are various sectors, be it the disaster management, or be it the agriculture, urban development, tourism, petroleum, or floods, or defense, or non-conventional energy, or surface transport, national highways, railways, or environment management, everywhere you need the information about weather and climate. The improvement in economy through sectoral applications of weather and climate is serving the demand of various sectors and the people. So to ensure the economic jump with the help of the weather and climate, the India Agriculture Department has a system in the form of horizontal and vertical organizations spread across the country. So when we look at the support of the weather services or climate services for self-reliance, Odisha or India, so what we find that it is not simply the weather forecast which is helping for self-reliance, but also the monitoring and assessment of the hazard potential based on the past data also helps the disaster managers and the policymakers, planners to have the accurate planning for various economic developments. So for example, if someone tries to have the development of the coastal highway, then he has to consider the coastal hazards in the different districts of the state. Similarly, if someone is planning to establish a power plant or coal-based power plant or renewable energy power plant, he has to consider what is the solar energy potential or wind energy potential in a particular district if he plans to. And similarly, he has to consider what is the impact of weather and climate and environment impact assessment for establishing an industry in a particular state. So hazards monitoring and assessment, early warning are the two key important support from weather and climate. Apart from that, you can have support in the form of the vulnerability analysis and risk assessment for each and every industry, each and every household, and each and every state and district. You also need the technical support for preparedness and planning and technical support for management of natural resources. For example, Odisha is such a state who has about 145 centimeter rainfall per year, and such a huge amount of water resources naturally available. We should have the support for management of this water, management of agriculture, management of energy resources, for example, coals and hydropower. So everywhere we can have the involvement of weather and climate, it is occurring also. I just want to mention here that there are various types of natural hazards, but 80% natural hazards are weather and climate related. And in the state also, if you see, most of natural hazards are weather and climate related, except the two. One is the landslides, which occurs mainly in the hilly areas in the South Odisha. And other one is the mild earthquake sometimes occurs in parts of the state. Otherwise, most of the hazards are weather and climate related. This is just the hazard potential zonation with respect to various types of hazards. You can find here cyclones, floods, droughts, earthquake, and thunderstorms, hailstorms, and squalls, etc. One of the most important hazards, apart from the large-scale hazards like cyclones, floods, and droughts, is the thunderstorm occurring in Odisha. Perhaps you might be knowing that the thunderstorm occurring in North Odisha is popularly called as Kal Boishakhi or Nor'westers, because these thunderstorms travel from Bihar and Jharkhand and move towards North Odisha and Gangetic West Bengal. And while they approach towards North Odisha and Gangetic West Bengal, they become disastrous. They become furious. Intense thunder associated with winds and rainfall occurs, and it sometimes leads to the damage to houses, uprooting of trees because of the strong winds. And frequency of such thunderstorms and lightning is maximum in the month of Baisakh. Therefore, it is called as Kal Boishakhi. It is called as Kal because it is very furious. And if you look at the distribution, one map is written right and top, right and bottom map, you can find that the frequency of thunderstorm in the month of May and April is maximum over the North Odisha and adjoining areas across the country. If you consider lightning, you will find that every year almost about 500 people die in Odisha and 2,500 to 3,000 people die in the country. While we have been able to minimize the loss of lives due to tropical cyclones, which is occurring about 10,000 in 1999, now it is about 10s and 20s only. The number of deaths due to lightning has not reduced. It is rather increasing in the country. And over Odisha also, there is no significant decrease. Of course, there is a little decrease last year compared to previous year, but on the average, about 500 people are dying every year because of the lightning. Now, if you just look at the physical features of Odisha, you will find that Odisha is dominantly a maritime state with the coastline of about 480 kilometers, and you have the coastal plains, and you have the northern upland and like Keonjhar and Mayurbhanj districts, and you have the southwestern hilly areas, that is Eastern Ghat region, or starting with Malkangiri, Koraput, Rayagada, Kalahandi, Gajapati, and Ganjam, and Kandhamal districts. Then, of course, you've got river and plains, starting with Sambalpur, Sundargarh, Jharsuguda, up to the coastal belt. So, what you find that the soil, which is fortunately is very good for Odisha. It is very fertile for the agriculture, and we are blessed by the nature. With the 480 kilometers of the coastal line, we have got the resources like water resources and fishery, that is marine fishery. In addition to that, we have got many water bodies. We have got the 7 major river catchments, including Mahanadi, Brahmani, Baitarani, Sornrekha, Budabalang, Bangsadhara, and Rusikulya. And these rivers attribute towards the economic development of the country. And apart from that, we have got very good mining system. So all these, I just want to mention here that physiographically, Odisha is very different from other countries. And also very varied, and it provides the opportunity for the socio-economic development of the state. But at the same time, if you just look at the various types of natural hazards in Odisha, you will find that major hazards are, I am keeping thunderstorm at the top because nowadays number of deaths due to thunderstorm is maximum, and then followed by the floods and droughts. Then we've got the heat waves and cold waves and the cyclones. The cyclones have recently decreased. About 5 cyclones developed in the country, but average 1 cyclone affect Odisha. We get around on the average 5 to 7 days of heat wave conditions every day. Cold waves experienced only in the interior part of the country, like Sambalpur, Sundargarh, Jharsuguda, and adjoining areas of interior state. And floods, so usually we experience 1 or 2 floods every year. Even if in the deficient rainfall year also, you will get floods, localized floods in the country, in the state. We also get droughts. There are certain drought-prone areas like Kalahandi and neighboring areas where almost every year we have the drought situations. And thunderstorm, as I told you, thunderstorm occurs across the state, but its frequency and intensity is maximum for northern parts of the country. So apart from that, also we experience the tornadoes, hailstorms, gales, and squalls. And if you compare different coastal states of the country, the North Andhra Pradesh and Odisha are most prone for the cyclone activity. And about 1 cyclone affects the country almost every year. And if you consider the extremely severe cyclone storms, you will find that Odisha is most prone among different coastal states for the extremely severe cyclone storms. So this is the multi-hazard map. You can find out certainly the coastal area is more hazardous because of the combined impact of various types of hazards like cyclones, heat waves, cold heat cyclones, heat waves, floods, droughts, etc. But you have got different parts of the state experiencing the different types of hazards. Now, if you just look at the cyclones affecting Odisha, as I was telling you, over the years, the total number of cyclones affecting Odisha is not increasing. Rather, it is decreasing. But if you consider the very severe cyclone storms or extremely severe cyclone storms, there is no change. That means earlier, whatever number of extremely severe cyclone storms are affecting Odisha, now also it is the same. So what does it mean actually? While the economic condition of the state has improved, therefore there has been more vulnerability. While the hazard remains same, the vulnerability has increased over the years because of our increased exposure, because of our increased economic conditions along the coast. So therefore, risk becoming multiplication of hazard and vulnerability, the risk has improved over the years, even though the hazard has not increased. This is the same case. Which
मैं
also
आपको
showed that
देखो जहाँ पे
total number of cyclones and extremely severe cyclones and very severe storms. Now, if you see which districts are more prone or which is less prone, Odisha is most prone, I told you previously. But among the coastal districts, if you find out, the most prone districts are Balasore, Kendrapada, Jagatsinghpur, Bhadra districts. And it's followed by Ganjam, Puri, and Khurda. And then it is followed by Mayurbhanj, Cuttack, Nayagarh, Gajapati, Jashpur, and the other districts. The red color districts you find are the most prone districts, followed by orange color, and followed by the blue color. Now, if you just look at the flood hazard map of Odisha, you will find that, as I was telling, that the coastal Odisha experiences very disastrous floods, as all of us know, and about 9% of the land area in Odisha is affected by flood during 2010-2018. So if you just look at quite a good amount of the area is experiencing the floods every time. And there has been the hazard severity, you can see starting with very low flood proneness to very high flood proneness in different parts of the state. Now, if you just look at the total rainfall which occurs in the state, it is about 145 centimeter rainfall occurring throughout the year. And out of that, about 79%, almost you can say 80% of the total annual rainfall occurs during southwest monsoon season, that is June to September. Therefore, the monsoon rainfall is very critical for Odisha. It is followed by the post-monsoon season rainfall, that is 10%, that is during October to November. And basically, this rainfall for October, November occurs because of the depressions and cyclones developing over Bay of Bengal, which moves over Odisha during October and November. If I look at what is the variation of rainfall over the years from 1901 to 2019, and this data is showing here, what you find actually, there is no significant change in the total amount of rainfall occurring over Odisha. It is trendless. Just like total amount of rainfall occurring over India does not show any trend, it is same. The total amount of rainfall occurring over Odisha also almost same. There is no trend. It is a good news. And rainfall in monsoon season also, if you just look at, yes, there is no change. There is no significant trend over the period. So hence, it is a good news that total amount of rain is not increasing or not decreasing. But if we just look at the rainfall trends in different parts of the state, district-wise, this red color here shows the decreasing trend. Left-hand side diagram is the trend, and right-hand side diagram is the climatology of rainfall during monsoon season. And if you just look at the left-hand side diagram, the red color shows the decreasing trend of rainfall. Now, what will show actually some districts like Nuapada, Malkanagiri, Koraput, and Gajapati in South Odisha, and Sambalpur, and Sundargarh, Jharsuguda, and Devagad. These districts are showing decrease in rainfall activity during monsoon season. Of course, Jagatsinghpur in the coastal. Now, if I just look at the annual rainfall, almost in a similar pattern, that is northwest Odisha districts and extreme southern Odisha districts like Malkanagiri, Koraput, and Navrangpur, and up to Devagad. These districts are showing decrease in rainfall activity, and other districts are not showing any significant trend. Now, if I just look at day-wise rainfall, what is happening actually? If you consider entire season of June to September, on the left-hand side diagram is showing the trends of the daily rainfall activity. That is rainfall more than 15 centimeter over the country. On the right-hand side, this is showing the trend in frequency of heavy rainfall days during monsoon season. No, it got my PPT got disconnected, or are you able to see?
Not PPT
We
is
are
not visible.
we are not
Yeah,
able to see.
It got disconnected. Just wait.
No, we can see. I think we can see the PPT.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I'm not able to.
No, I am not able to see.
No, we are not able to see.
Now it is
Is
there.
it visible now? Yeah.
Ah,
Yes,
visible.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you find here on the right hand side diagram, the upward red arrows indicate the increase in number of heavy rainfall days, and blue arrows downward indicates the decrease in heavy rainfall days. So what we find, just like I was showing a little earlier, the rainfall is decreasing over South Odisha and some parts of Northwest Odisha. But here what you find that number of heavy rainfall days are increasing. So even if the rainfall is decreasing, the total number of heavy rainfall days is increasing over South Odisha, especially Koraput and Rayagada, Malkangiri and Navarampur areas, and of course some parts of Northwest Odisha. So what it indicates that the total amount of rainfall decreasing and number of heavy rainfall days increasing. That means if it is not raining, it is not raining, but when it rains, it is raining heavily. So that is the case. So this type of rainfall, when it is not raining and it is raining in a smaller time heavily, that will lead to flash floods, that will lead to urban floods, that will lead to surface runoff, and that will not lead to percolation of water into the ground, and hence the groundwater will decrease. And you might be knowing that there is decrease in groundwater in some of the districts in Odisha also, and many districts in the country. So if I just look at light rainfall, like say rainy days. Rainy days means when rainfall is 2.5 millimeters or more, it is called rainy day. And when it is less than that, it is called as dry days. You just see on the right hand side diagram, annual rainfall on the right hand side bottom diagram, trend in frequency of dry days, Odisha. What you find actually, number of dry days are increasing. So if you remember little earlier, I told that total amount of rainfall over Odisha is not increasing, not decreasing, it remains almost same. But at the same time, total number of dry days are increasing. That means rainfall is now not temporarily uniformly distributed over the years. It is occurring over a smaller number of days. And within a day also, it is occurring over a smaller period of time. And hence the flood proneness is increasing over the years. Now, if you just look at the temperature trends in Odisha, so what you find actually, there is an increasing trend in Mayurbhanj, Balasore, and Bhadrak district in the winter season, minimum temperature. That means cold condition is increasing in those districts. Otherwise, there is no such trend in any other districts. If you just look at the summer temperature, the pre-monsoon season, that is March, April, May, what you find actually, the left-hand side diagram, please see, you can find out that there is a significant rising trend you can find out on the southern part and south coastal districts. So that means temperature is increasing over this area. So temperature increasing means the probability of occurrence of heat wave conditions over these districts, including Bhubaneswar, is increasing. If it's just the monsoon season, in monsoon season also the temperature is increasing across the state. Everywhere you see there is a significant increasing trend in all the districts of the state in monsoon season. What is the implications? Now if you just remember, the temperature is increasing in monsoon season. If temperature increases in the environment, the moisture holding capacity of the environment increases. If the moisture holding capacity of the environment increases, at the same time, the atmosphere is becoming more unstable because temperature is increasing, and hence the more convective development can take place in the atmosphere. And especially when a low pressure system is approaching Odisha and moving across Odisha, because of this increased temperature and hence the increased water holding capacity, there will be increased heavy rainfall events in association with the low pressure systems. So therefore, the flood proneness will increase as and when a low or a depression or a cyclone crosses Odisha in monsoon season. And this is the annual temperature. It is representative again. Annual temperature also is increasing entire state. Now, if I just look at the minimum temperature is increasing only over southern part, and there is decrease in central plains. Okay, this is the annual temperature, the mean of maximum temperature. But not say I want to say that there is increase in temperature over Odisha in terms of maximum temperature and the mean temperature. Now, considering all these, what do you feel now that the environment has its own impact because of the artificial artificial intervention by the human society in terms of the anthropogenic gases. It is a proven study that the greenhouse gases are contributing to the global warming. And this global warming has also the regional aspects. And Odisha is also experiencing the global warming impact. And impact of global warming or the climate change is that the increase in frequency and intensity of the extreme weather events, just like I explained you, like the heavy rainfall and the heat waves. Apart from heavy rainfall heat waves, there is also, as I showed you, that there is no change in frequency of extreme severe cyclone storms, and hence the vulnerability to severe cyclone storms is also increasing. So in nutshell, all these are leading to the higher vulnerability and hence the higher risk due to the extreme weather over the state. So what should we do now? As the early warning agency, IMD has a seamless forecasting strategy. IMD is augmenting its observational system so that very small scale heavy rainfall events or heat wave events can be detected well. And also the cyclones and other large scale events can be predicted well. So for this purpose, what we do actually, we follow a seamless forecasting system. Seamless means that there is a continuity over the period of time. That means we start with the forecast for next 3 hours, next 6 hours for all types of severe weather events in all districts and different locations. It is followed by the short to medium range forecast, that is up to 10 days forecast, then extended range forecast, that is up to 4 weeks forecast. And then we give the seasonal forecast, that is for the next season, what is going to happen. And also spatially, we go for station forecast, then block forecast, district forecast, and then the Odisha state as a whole forecast. So while going for the severe weather warning, we follow a systematic procedure or roadmap, you can say. As I was telling in the beginning, the meteorology is a nonlinear science, which basically depends upon the initial condition of the environment, that means atmosphere, ocean, and earth. Or you can say that weather forecasting is an initial value problem. So therefore, the initial status has to be defined well. If you can correctly monitor, correctly detect the event occurring now, you can predict it for the future. That is the basic principle. So therefore, worldwide, people try to augment the observational systems 4-dimensionally. That means 3 times space, 3-dimensional space, 1-dimensional time. So we also do like that, and we take all these observations, and with these observations, we identify the different weather systems. At the same time, it goes to different types of numerical weather prediction models, and there are about 7 numerical weather prediction models which are run twice a day to provide the digital forecast. Now, the forecaster is equipped with the decision support system where he can compare, comprehend, and analyze various types of observations and the forecast coming from different numerical models and create a consensus forecast. I am telling here consensus forecast because the doctors differ, we know. Similarly, the models also differ from each other. Even the forecasters also differ from each other. So what we do actually, we, just like medicine specialists differ also, we also differ from each other because of the different knowledge, experience, and expertise. And the models differ from each other because of their computing power, because of the physical principle defined in the model, because of the various types of data being invested in the models, all these. So therefore, we have to go for a consensus. The consensus is about the system. And finally, when we prepare the forecast, this forecast is converted into an impact-based forecast. That means at present, for last 3 years, you will find that we are providing what the weather will do tomorrow, not only what the weather will be tomorrow. That means we are telling, if we are telling that there will be heavy rainfall tomorrow, we should say whether this heavy rainfall will lead to inundation in Master Canton area, or there will be inundation in, say, Iskan area, or Banihar area, or Rasulgarh, or where. And if there is inundation, which slum will be more affected, or which marketplace will be affected, which bus stand will be affected. So that type of forecast is called as the impact-based forecast. Not only that, we tell the impact, also we tell the response actions. What action has to be taken by the general public? What action is to be taken by a farmer? What action is taken by a fisherman? What action is to be taken by a disaster manager at the block, tahsil, or the city, municipal corporation, or the district? So that is called as the end forecast. So therefore, the forecast is an end-to-end system now, which is used by the decision makers to take the actions. Now coming to Odisha, Odisha is well equipped with respect to the meteorological observations. And we have a meteorological center in Bhubaneswar, and we have, you can see from the left-hand side diagram, we have got 251 rain gauges in different districts and sub-district levels. We have got high wind speed records along the coast. We have got upper air observatories. We have got agriculture-specific observatories, and also we have got surface-based observations in almost all the districts. And if you just look at daily observation summary, what we do actually, every day we provide what has happened during past 24 hours, and that is called as daily weather summary. And at the same time, also we give the information what is occurring now. Every 3 hours, the information is generated and provided to the public. And with the automated weather stations, the information is generated every hour and every 15 minutes. This is just an example of the rainfall distribution in different districts of the state. Now coming to the major hazard for Odisha, it is the cyclone, which was the major hazard. All of us know that Odisha super cyclone 1999, more than 10,000 people died, and it made us not infamous in the world arena. But however, the picture has changed over the years. Now Odisha is known worldwide for its improved disaster management. It is possible because of the improved early warning system and better coordination among the central and state agencies and general public and disaster managers to take the appropriate response actions and hence to minimize the loss of lives. So here what we do actually in cyclone, we provide 15 days forecast now, and 15 days means week 1 and week 2 forecast to provide whether there will be any genesis of the cyclone for the Bay of Bengal Arabian Sea. If there is a genesis, then we also mention about whether there is a possibility of moving towards any particular coast. Then it is followed by every day issuing a forecast of the next 5 days. It is called as tropical weather outlook, indicating whether there will be any genesis. Then we go for providing the track, that is path and intensity and structure and shape and size of the disturbance when a depression forms over the Bay of Bengal. And by that way, at least 5 days in advance, we specifically give the information whether it is coming to Odisha or not. If it is coming to a particular state, we also mention about what is the landfall point and landfall time, and accordingly, what will be the adverse weather in terms of the heavy rainfall, winds, and storm surges, what will be the expected damage, and what action should be taken by different stakeholders and the public. All these informations are provided in different stages like pre-cyclone watch, cyclone alert, cyclone warning, and post-landfall outlook. You perhaps might be knowing, but I'll just repeat here that information is very sector specific and user specific. It goes as a 4-stage warning system for the disaster managers. It goes to ships in the deep sea through Inmarsat in the form of Global Maritime Distress Safety System Bulletin. It goes to coastal ships, trawlers, etc. as a coastal weather bulletin. It goes as a port warning bulletin to all the ports in Odisha state. It goes to fishermen and fishery officials in 2 different bulletins. Bulletin for fishermen is different from bulletin for fishery officials. Fishermen bulletin is very simple, easy to understand. Then aviation warning, it goes to all airports. Then it goes to all India radio, Doordarshan, FM radio, community radio. And also it goes to registered users, those who are registered. For example, national highways, Indian railways, all industries on the coast are registered with IMD to get the specific warning for their purpose. And nowadays also we have gone for the social media. Just an example of Cyclone Yas last year, all of you might be knowing that Cyclone Yas moved south of Balasore and crossed coast. And this, you can just an example, you can see how the black line and red line are just coinciding with each other. Red line indicates the forecast track or path of the cyclone, and black line was the actual track of the cyclones. You can see how the 72 hours before, it could be correctly predicted that it will move towards Balasore. Now, flood is another significant event in Odisha. So what we do actually, we have a very well-established collaboration with Central Water Commission. We provide the rainfall forecast, and based on rainfall forecast, they give the flood forecast. And flood forecast is provided to the state government for different river catchments and also for the reservoir, mainly the Hirakud reservoir. And here, what I can say, apart from forecast, we also give what rainfall has occurred in the past. That rainfall information also helps in planning. That also goes to state government, irrigation department, and also it goes to the Central Water Commission. Another new concept what we have done in recent time is the flash flood guidance. As you might be knowing, in cyclone Yas, the coastal areas of Balasore and Bhadrak district, starting from Dhamra up to Chandraneswar, it was flooded, and we provide this flash flood guidance. That is, what will be the amount of flood and flood depth during next 6 hours, next 12 hours. And this is the example on right hand side, the cyclone Yas associated flash flood issued on 26th May. Now, for each and every river basin, we have got around 10 river basins along Odisha. And what we do actually, we provide river catchment forecast. It goes to CWC, Central Office of Bhubaneswar. Our office at Bhubaneswar provides this forecast to them and also to irrigation department. And these are the different river catchments, as all of us know, starting from Subarnrekha to Nagavali along Sadhara. So what we do there, actually, we provide 5 days forecast for each and every river catchment. And we give the quantitative precision forecast, we give the heavy rainfall warning, and we give the quantitative precision estimate in the past. So all these help to run the hydrological model. And recently what we have done actually, a joint bulletin is being prepared with IMD, Central Water Commission, and National Disaster Response Force, as per the suggestion by the Home Minister, Honorable Home Minister, from last year. And it goes for better management of the river and flooding. And this is the case of heat and cold wave. All the information, whatever I have discussed so far, are available in GIS platform. This is just an example of heat wave and cold wave information available in GIS platform. We also here give the impact-based forecast for heat wave. Heat action plan has been developed in the country, and also for Odisha, for Bhubaneswar city, also heat action plan has been developed, where the doctors, NGOs, and city corporation officials participate. Early one is provided by IMD, and they work upon based on the heat wave warning. Heat action plan is followed on daily basis, and that's why the number of deaths due to heat wave has reduced in recent years. It is only 4 and 5 last year compared to 2040 in 2015. And if you go a little back, you'll remember that 1998 May, June, more than 2,000 people died in Odisha because of the heat wave. God's grace, there is no repetition so far, and I am sure it will not repeat it again, because the heat wave warning and heat action plan is in place. Now, thunderstorm, I was talking about you in the beginning, that is a major killer nowadays in the country, and claiming about 20,000 to 3,000 deaths every year. In Odisha, also about 300 to 500 deaths every year. What we did in the last 3 years, I was given the responsibility as a chairman of task force to develop a lightning warning system. Now, country has a lightning warning system. It is being operated in Bhubaneswar also. It is being provided for different districts and different stations, state headquarters, district headquarters, and important cities and towns. And a mobile app has also been developed to give the lightning warning information called as Damini. All this information is being provided every hour and every 3 hours, based on the technology developed within the country, satellite, radar, automated stations, and other observational tools. So these are the different types of observational systems which are being utilized to predict thunderstorm and lightning. Now, you can see that an example I'm just putting on the left-hand side. It was the intense lightning activity over Odisha. It occurred on 21st April 2019. You can find out on right-hand side, this is the forecast, every 3-hour forecast, which could be generated utilizing this model. And on right-hand side, you can see here how the thunderstorm occurred over Odisha and lightning occurred over Odisha. These red marks you can see. So what I have to say that now we have been capable with complete surveillance to provide the lightning warning across the country and also for Odisha. You'll be happy to know that there are only 5 countries in the world who provide lightning warning at present. All countries are not able to provide the lightning warning. So this is a multi-hazard warning advisory map developed by Odisha for different districts and also a block of sugar. And you can find out the red color means it is warning, orange means alert, and yellow means it is watch. So it is provided for all types of hazards affecting the state. And for the farmers in the state, we have got the Agromet Advisory Services. Its service goes is a public-private partnership. What we do actually, we collaborate with state agencies, state universities like UAT and KVKs, that is Krishi Vigyan Kendras of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, and also the various private agencies like Reliance Foundation and MS Swaminathan Foundation, etc. And accordingly, the information are generated vividly twice a week, that is Tuesday and Friday, but it is updated every day also. It goes in form of the text and graphics also. It goes, you can see the कृषि विज्ञान केंद्र that is under Gramin कृषि मौसम सेवा, the project taken up under the Niti Aayog scheme. It is operational in Odisha. You can find out that it almost uniformly distributed across the state in association with the various agencies. That we have the collaboration with ICAR, then ISRO, then OUAT, KVK, State Agriculture Department, ORSAT, IIT Bhubaneswar, then Department of Agriculture and Family Welfare, Ministry of Information Broadcasting, Ministry of Rural Development, NGOs, and TPP partners. So at present also we are providing forecast for 240 blocks in the country for agromet advisory services. And these are the agromet products. You can find out all types of products which are required for agriculture, including rainfall, temperature, wind, etc., are provided both in textual and graphical form and local language, in Odia language also. So therefore, there is an end-to-end system connecting the various users in the state with the early warning and weather forecasting provided by India Meteorology Department. These are some of the bulletins you can see the number of bulletins being issued by IMD Bhubaneswar for different users in the state. And these are the dissemination mechanism by IMD for different users. We adopt all types of redundancy because weather like hazard can lead to sometimes disruption of the conventional communication system. So we go for all types of redundancy. And recently we've come up with all types of social media. You can find out the Twitters, you can find out the Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, you can find out the blog, you can find out the YouTube. And also you have the mobile apps like Mosam, Meghdut, Damini, Rain Alarm, Umang, etc. And also we have got a public website where all information are in very layman language, which general public can understand. You will be happy to know that recently we have come up with the weather videos. Daily, we are providing weather video in local language like Odia language, and also here Hindi and English at the national level. We have also the weekly video for the forecast for next 2 weeks. All these videos are available in the YouTube. I was talking about dissemination. What we have done recently is innovation that we have created a WhatsApp group up to block level. Even the active farmers in the village are connected through the WhatsApp group, but the number is not sufficient at present. We have developed 2,118 WhatsApp groups at the block level, still to go more. 4,459 villages are now connected. All states to be all villages in the state to be connected within 1 year or so. These are the different types of Facebook handles and then Twitter handles of IMD Bhubaneswar. Then to empower the users, we go for various awareness program for like fishermen and farmers. For example, farmers awareness program in Odisha in 2021. You can find out that almost 639 farmers awareness program were conducted by India Meteorology Department in collaboration with ICAR and KVK, कृषि विज्ञान केंद्र. And if you just look at the forecast scale, you will find that forecast scale of India Meteorology Department is significantly high in recent years. In case of cyclone, we are second to none in the world. Our forecast accuracy is better than or at par with all leading centers like USA. Monsoon forecast, heavy rainfall warning, if you just look at it, is 80% accurate 24 hours ahead. Thunderstorm, if you just look at it, is about 85% accurate for next one day or next 3 hours. Similarly, heat wave, if you just look at it, is 92% accurate. So with this accuracy, if you just compare previous 5 years and recent 5 years, there is a 40% improvement in accuracy in recent 5 years compared to previous 5 years in all types of severe weather. As a result, what you find actually, the number of deaths is reduced, and there is no cyclone in recent 10 years where number of deaths has increased or number of deaths has been beyond 100. Always it has been less than 100. If you see the last 3 years, it is just 447 like that. 2021, you find numbers are very less, 10s and 20s only. As a result, also it has earned laurels from the worldwide. We have got appreciation from United Nations, WMO, and UNDP, etc. And it has been very successful, especially with respect to Odisha cyclones, including Pani and Amphan. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your elaborative presentation on the sustainable development and sustainable self-reliant Odisha and India. You have covered all the parts, all type of weather aspects, and the Meghadut app and the issues, how people are getting the information earlier whenever the things are going to happen. If it was in 99, the hazards what have happened at that time, it will not happen. Thank you for your effort. And now I request Mr. Sushant Patnaik, Chief Conservator or Speaker, to have over to him, sir. Over to Sushant Patnaik ji. Mr. Sushant.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I'm on the move actually, so I'll just speak over the audio.
Yeah.
Firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Dheeraj Kumar Singh, my good friend, for inviting me to attend this webinar, national webinar, and also would like to thank the organizing committee of the POVS for making me a part of this luminary group on a subject which is very pertinent for our national goal and development. Now, after hearing to Dr. Dhananjay Mahapatra Babu about the natural disasters vis-a-vis various weather phenomenon and its impact of my home state to Odisha, it has been very enlightening to hear all the aspects of this particular topic. However, today
Your voice is not coming.
Am I audible now?
Yes, now. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. So today's topic is environment sustainability for self-reliant India. Environmental sustainability as a subject is very vast, and its terms and various facets are so encompassing that one can speak on this subject for a longer time, for hours together. But since today the time limit is also limited, and hence I would only like to focus on those aspects of this particular topic which is affecting, which pertains to my cadre state of Uttarakhand. I am a forest officer from 2002 batch of Indian Forest Service and working in the state of Uttarakhand since last almost 16 to 17 years. In the beginning of this lecture, as the speaker told about the glacial outburst in 2021 incident or Kedarnath disaster of 2013, I think this state has realized and understood the basic tenets of environmental sustainability than probably any other state in the country. When we talk of environmental sustainability, then it is a term which is directly linked to poverty alleviation, employment generation, livelihood, natural resource management, and of course, improving the quality of the life. Environment sustainability as a term is the guiding term for all our national policies, missions, vision document, etc. As you know, our Niti Aayog is the prime body, is the apex body which is forming the policies in various sectors of our national growth. And it has devised 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, under UN Charter. And these 17 sustainable goals, if you look at each of these goals, they are definitely linked to the environment in one way or the other. So all our national policy making, policy documents, mission documents, vision documents, are ultimately being directed towards achieving this goal of environmental sustainability. Without going to the basic, as you know, the environment as a field, it has got various components: air, water, forest, wildlife, ocean, everything. It is not possible to discuss each of these components at vast in this shortest time. So I would dwell upon the forest and wildlife sector of the environment and how it is being made sustainable at a national level and with reference to my specific state of my cadre state of Uttarakhand. Now, forest and wildlife as a sector in the environment is being made to sustainable through various mechanisms. I would only highlight three mechanisms. One is the regulatory mechanism. This regulatory mechanism is through policy, acts, laws, rules, bylaws, etc. As you know, that our country recently the Parliament has devised the Government of India has devised the forest policy, National Forest Policy of 2020, which is guaranteeing of sustainable forest management and the creation of favorable conditions for an efficient and innovative forestry and timber sector. This forest policy is guiding the total forest cover, the wildlife, extent of wildlife that we should have in our country. This forest policy is guiding the various facets of forest management, the silvicultural management, etc. This forest policy is guiding the target groups which would benefit from the forest and which would manage the forest for its sustainable development. The other aspect is the participatory mechanism. In the participatory mechanism, we have the role of various institutions, whether it is the government, the local bodies, urban bodies, Nagar Nigam, village panchayats, or the pressure groups, the NGOs, and self-help groups. The last is the judicial review mechanism. The National Green Tribunal, various judgments of Honorable High Courts, Honorable Supreme Courts, and also the International Court of Justice are binding on our government policies, and hence are binding to make the programs which are making the forest and wildlife towards the sustainability. Now, in general, what are the factors that is affecting our environmental sustainability? Obviously, to my mind, there are largely three factors: population rise, unbalanced development, and as Dr. Mahapatra said, the natural disasters. In the forest, the natural disasters are in the form of floods, landslides, and forest fire, which is a bigger menace in Uttarakhand and many of the forest-rich states. At a national level, the forest and environment sustainability is being achieved through a regulatory mechanism of clearances, monitoring, and evaluation. When you talk of clearances, it means there, as per the Act, Environment Protection Act, Indian Forest Act, Forest Conservation Act, Wildlife Protection Act, etc., various permissions are being granted for various activities within the forest and in the wildlife zone. Like under Forest Conservation Act, no non-forestry activity in the forest areas can take place without the permission of Government of India. So any non-forestry activity which is to take place in the forest area, the state government, the forest department will prepare the proposal for the user agency. It will be processed to the state government. The state government will forward the proposals to Government of India, and the approvals are obtained from Government of India. So through this many layer checks and balance and mechanism of monitoring, the sustainability aspect of the forest and wildlife is being achieved. Then we have in the environment sector, under EIA notification, Environment Impact Assessment Notification 2006, environment clearance is being given to various projects, industrial, hydel projects, nuclear power plants, highways, airway projects, etc., power projects, etc. So these clearances are trying to achieve the environmental sustainability, forest and wildlife sustainability. Now, this is the basic aspects regarding the policy making in the country and regulatory mechanism which is existing in the country to achieve the goal of sustainability. Coming to my specific state of Uttarakhand, I would like to enlighten the panelists, the participating members about Uttarakhand. I would say that coming from the Puri Dham and working in Char Dham, it has really fulfilled my life. Uttarakhand, as you know, is a state, small hill state nestled in the Western Himalayas. And this Western Himalaya is one of the biodiversity hotspot of our country. When we talk of Uttarakhand, it means it is the origin state of two of our sacred rivers, River Ganges and River Yamuna. So managing the forest and wildlife in Uttarakhand means keeping these two rivers flowing. The ecosystem of these two rivers is what is what the sustainability means for the state of Uttarakhand and of course for the nation. Uttarakhand being a small hill state, the forest cover, total forest cover of the state is around 65 to 67%. There is a lot of pressure of development in this hill state. As Ajay told earlier, that any non-forestry activity which has to take place in a forest area, the forest land transfer has to take place. And when there is a forest land transfer, the total forest area which is given away for development, double the area of that forest needs to be raised. Which means a balance between the development and conservation is made to be achieved through this mechanism of forest land transfer. There are many important major projects which are going on in Uttarakhand, like you all must have heard about the Char Dham Pariyojana. It is a road connectivity project of around 890 kilometers connecting to the Char Dham of Gangotri, Yamunotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath. Then we have got the Rishikesh Karnaprayag rail line project, which is for the first time the rail line is being laid out in the hill state, covering a distance of around 128 kilometers. Then we have the 4-lane construction of the Delhi-Dehradun highway corridor. From Dehradun, when you are traveling from Delhi to Dehradun, then there is a section which is falling in the area of Rajaji National Park, almost 16.6 kilometers. It is an elevated corridor which is being constructed, and it will be the longest elevated corridor. It is proposed to be the longest elevated corridor in Asia. So with such developmental works which are being taken up or which are being envisioned, it is really a great challenge and great task for the forest department and for the state government to ensure that the forest which is being cut would be managed sustainably through compensatory afforestation and through other mitigational measures of eco-restoration works. In the, I would just give two examples which is pertaining to policy that is made by our state government to achieve the forest and wildlife sustainability in the state. You must have heard about a species called cheed pine, that is Pinus ruxburghi. It is a tree cover. It is a species which grows in the subtropical, between the zone of subtropical and subtemperate in the Western Himalayas, and as well as in the Eastern Himalayas also. Now this tree is highly inflammable because it sheds its pine, the pine needle, जिसको हिंदी में चीड़ पाइन कहते हैं, चीड़ पिरुल. That pine needle is shred, seeds are shred, especially during the emergence of summer. As a result of which they catch fire immediately during the summer time, leading to forest fire. So the cheed pirul is a major cause of forest fire in the forest of Uttarakhand. Our state government and the forest department of Uttarakhand has come up with a policy to use this cheed pirul to the advantage of generating employment, power, and diminishing the causes of forest fire. The Chid Pirul areas are identified. Then they are lifted by the local women, by the local self-help group and the local youth, and they're taken to a energy generation plant, because the Chid Pirul, it is highly inflammable, and it has got great potential of power generation. So our state government has undertaken memorandum of understanding with some power producing companies and local entrepreneurs who have set up these Chid Pirul based power generation plants. So with this activity, the local employment is being generated. The government is giving 2 rupees per kg as subsidy for payment to the local people, local women, local youth who are lifting this Chid Pirul from the forest areas and carting them to the power generation plants. It's at a very preliminary stage, but in the district of Uttarkasi and in the district of Almoda, it is showing some good results. So we are hopeful that if this project is made successful over the entire state, then we would be able to utilize the Chid Pirul to the advantage of power generation and raising employment generation. So with this, the forest fire causes would be reduced, and we will be able to manage our forest in a more sustainable manner. Now, bigger hydroelectric projects are obviously causing a large scale displacement and environmental degradation. So our state government is preparing plans, is promoting entrepreneurs who are going for the micro hydel projects instead of mega hydel projects. And these micro hydel projects in various micro hydel catchments are yielding good results. It is promoting local entrepreneurship as well as it is giving employment and being sustained and being proving to be sustainable for the forest and environment sector. I would give you another example of how our forest areas are being made sustainable by local employment and livelihood is being generated, and yet it is contributing to the self-reliant India. Now, in this present global scenario where we are having this Ukraine and Russia war, and we are also having a very nasty neighbor in the form of China, our armed forces are our strength. They are a greater hope of our nation. Now, to feed them, to provide them some benefits, the energy drinks are a major part. Whenever they are in the battlefield, whenever they are in any tight operations, whenever they are in the border areas, they are given energy drinks. The source of energy drinks is majorly from a species, namely sea buckthorn. This sea buckthorn is a deciduous shrub which is growing in the subtemperate and temperate zones of the Himalayas. In Uttarakhand, this species is widely spread in the higher Himalayas. However, over a long period of time, the forest department has been looking after conservation of this particular species. Now, you will be surprised to know that the energy drink, which is sourced from the sea buckthorn, is largely being imported from China and Vietnam and some other Southeast Asian countries. So, if we are able to manage the sea buckthorn in our forest well, then our imports of sea buckthorn from China would get reduced, and obviously we become self-reliant in developing energy drink for our soldiers, for our officers in the field, in the battlefield. So the forest department has embarked upon a program, a plan partly funded by Ministry of Environment and Forest and also partly funded by the state government, that we are going to raise sea buckthorn of over 1,000 hectare area in the forthcoming plantation year. We have already identified the areas, we have identified the nursery technique, and we are going to undertake the plantation of this particular species. Now, plantation of this particular species is being carried out in the degraded forest areas, as a result of which the eco-restoration work can be completed. This would generate huge employment, and obviously, at the time of harvest of this plant, the energy drink producers can be provided the Sivakan seeds by the suppliers from the plantation site. Now, this is just one example which I gave to my speakers as to how the state government policies, the forest department programs are orienting towards achieving the forest and wildlife sustainability, yet trying to make the state and the country self-reliant in its own way. Now, I think without taking much of the time, I can only say as a forest officer that the environmental sustainability for self-reliant India is a topic which touches each and every section, group of our society. And being a forest officer, obviously we are duty bound and determined to undertake this national goal. But as citizens, we are also duty bound to undertake this national goal in our own little way, wherever we are. So with this, with these few words, I tend to end my my speech, my lecture. And again, I would like to thank the organizing committee POVS for giving me this opportunity. I would like to get associated with this organization for a on various other forums, and anyone visiting Uttarakhand, you are most welcome to Devbhoomi. And thank you once again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Patnaik. Actually, within a short span, we have covered your current state, and it's the issues and the development happened here. Actually, it is brilliant, and the people are also, we will accept your invitation to visit the Uttarakhand. Thank you. Now I'll request Mr. Iskadas, the chairman, the Gujarat Environment Authority, Impact Assessment Authority. Though he's not well, but still will speak few things to us. Thank you. Over to Mr. Das.
Yeah. Pravasi Odia Samaj Delhi ro President Surenar Mr. Babu, Dr. Dheeraj Kumar Singh, and friends. I noticed that there is a very large attendance in this online program organized by Dr. Singh. Although the surname of Dr. Singh signify that he may be from another state, but he's from Odisha and speaking such pungent Odia has inspired me, and I could not leave the temptation to be part of this conference today, although I have not been keeping well for last 2 days. Friends, climate action, climate change, all that has been happening over the years is something that all of us have been not only witness, but we are also victims. The definition of climate change has been spoken in various parlance, from international level to the national and local level. We do not have to go to the Framework Convention or IPCC definition of climate change, but let me tell in our understanding in Odia, India, our Bharat Desha, ये सप्त सिंधुर देश बोली कहा जाए. सप्त सिंधुर देश, from Himalaya to Kanyakumari, all oceans around us, and this is also land of rivers. The same thing applies to Odisha. Then it also abounds with the Himalayas and its great snowy and icy peaks. But what is happening? Let us understand by climate change. See, The oceans are getting polluted. The rivers are drying up. Drying up to such an extent that, friends, I can tell when we came to Gujarat in 1980s, the Sabarmati River didn't exist with water. They used to say that it is the place where the children need to play cricket, or they make sand dunes and play. Of course, things have changed today. The same thing also applies to Odisha. There are many rivers which used to be perennial, have all become all dry. Today, we used to read the novel Aranyara Dinaratri. Aranyara Dinaratri. In the forest, there was no night, no day. Today, we have no forest, and we have all days and all nights. And not only that, we have the scorching sun, and we have the problems of climate change. So time has come. Time has come when we have to focus on this environmental sustainability and the self-reliance that is being talked about today by our Prime Minister. Friends, let me go to the next stage, Odisha. Being in Gujarat, we have not been able to access the day-to-day happenings and events. But a few things come to my mind. I saw somewhere that Puri got the maximum rain of the record rainfall of the last 100 years, which never has happened in Odisha. Not only Puri, but many other places Odisha got record rainfall. I was wondering, of course, there are news about Delhi also, but the very fact that large number of rainy days leading to floods, erratic rains, unexpected rain, and extreme weather conditions also Odisha is facing. Then I was also surprised in the month of February, in the month of March, there are so many places in Odisha, they registered cold nights. We used to hear about Bonai and Panpos and all places used to be very cold earlier. But today there are many places Odisha are experiencing the cold nights. This is something very unusual. Now let me talk about the another extreme weather development was the hot summers which we faced in the years before. It so happened so much so that Al Gore, who wrote the book Inconvenient Truth, the Inconvenient Truth of Al Gore, also mentioned about the large number of heat strokes death in Odisha. So therefore, why it is that Odisha nearer to the sea, having so many rivers, having large forest cover. In fact, an old data show that 37% of Odisha's landmass was under the forest. Of course, things have changed, but it is much more than the national average. And the recent data which I was looking at by chance is that many hectares of forest land are disappearing from northeast. But contrary to that, Odisha is increasing its forest cover. That's a very positive sign. Despite this positive sign, can you guarantee that Odisha won't be the victim of so many floods, whether it is Phani or whether it is Eileen, whether it is Yas or anything like that? Perhaps we have to safeguard our common future. There was a book by Gro Harlem Brundtland when she wrote the first book, Our Common Future. People started knowing all over the world. The UN Commission tasked this report, and thereafter people started realizing there is something very dramatic happening in the climate, and it is going to bring death and doom and disasters and loss of human lives and properties all over the globe. Since that day, a lot of waters have flown down the rivers of India, and things have been not that very good. In Odisha, I was told there is a film by Nilamada Panda where he shows how the villages near the seashore have disappeared. There are many villages in the coastal region of Odisha, they have disappeared. So that shows the calamity that we have to face. You know, in those days, we used to read Odisha in the British time when historians used to write that India is the brightest jewel in the British crown, but they used to say the poorest country in the world. The same analogy if I would try to Odisha, let us see how it happens. Of course, economically, there is another aspect I could narrate. Nanka Durbhika came, people died like flies. So many disasters happened, and you will be surprised that it is this Indian national freedom struggle movement, if it could get a push in the Hindi heartland by a book called Bharat Durdasha, and it was based on the economic disaster of Odisha, based on the Nanka Durbhika. What I'm trying to say is, Odisha triggered the nationalism, national movement those days. Now time has come. Odisha must trigger the action for controlling climate change. It should be a state in the forefront. Odisha is the greenest state in India, cannot be the worst sufferer of climate change. I am repeating, Odisha is the greenest state in India, should not and cannot be the worst sufferer of climate change. Therefore, time has come. We must respond to the last temptation of Al Gore. There was an article in Time magazine years before, the last temptation of Al Gore. It is nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with economics, but it has something to do with climate control, climate change and climate control. And time has come, we should pay attention to that, do our best to see that in a sustainable manner, we should address the issue of climate degradation by various ways and various means. One of the detailed inventory of information our Deputy Director IMD, Mrityunjay Mahapatra gave about multi-hazard mapping, about weather forecasting and lightning forecasting. They would be certainly very useful, and the country must make use of those inventory of data for controlling these weather imbalances. There are many more scope and possibility. Maybe Odisha should institute and establish some institution for forecasting various weather and climate calamities, including tsunami. I had a chance to go to Hyderabad to that Ocean Education Research Center, and my friend Dr. Shailesh Naik, who was secretary that those days, I was secretary in Government of India. He showed me the scope of warning, climate warning, and weather change, how tsunami can be predicted, like lightning and other things. So maybe Odisha could be a leading state in establishing an institute. For that end, our recommendation would be for everybody to vouchsafe this proposal and tell the government of Gujarat to do so. Now, weather forecasting, then calamity or hazards mapping, they are the beginning and the first stage, but there are maybe many more things which are required to stem the tide of calamity aggression. I use the word calamity aggression, which is taking place in a big way. Calamity aggression cannot be ignored. They say it's not the cup of tea of politicians. Yes, it has to be the cup of tea of everybody. Calamity aggression is something we must address today. And friends, Odisha is a state of, as I said, huge forest area. Can you think of harnessing the biomass based power generation? Can you go for large scale biogas plants, renewable energy, and reduce the consumption of fossil fuel? In fact, in Niti Aayog, data says in the fossil fuel consumption, the average is per capita is 60 kg. It is maximum is it in Haryana, Gujarat, Punjab, and other places. Odisha is the least. Tripura is the least. Despite this thing, the fossil fuel consumption elsewhere will affect Odisha also. As poverty anywhere can affect prosperity everywhere. So calamity degradation can affect peace and development everywhere. So therefore, we should also take cognizance of what is happening and what Odisha can do. We should go for massive eco-regeneration. Eco-regeneration means both economic as well as ecological regeneration that is required apart from harnessing the maritime wealth of the state. Then, friends, the data given by Mrutyunjay Babu shows how the farmers were affected, areas were affected. But I must tell you, it is only a part of it. A cyclone or a flood in the coastal region is not affecting only part of it. It is affecting whole state. So there have to be disaster preparedness for the whole state. And there have to prevention, disaster prevention for the whole state. Of course, Odisha got a good name of late of establishing its credential in achieving disaster preparedness, and this trend must continue. It must be a learning lesson for many people and most of us and most states, and Odisha should do the best. We have agriculture, we have rice production. Now, how should we go for drought proofing agriculture, agro-based industries, and how we should go for preservation technologies which would reduce the incidence of consumption of fossil fuel. And more than carbon dioxide, methane is going to be, the methane emission is going to be the biggest problem also. So how to control methane? Biomethanation should be a project on which Odisha should take the lead. Not only biomass gasification, biomass-based power generation, biomass briquetting, but also biomethanation should go a big way, apart from small-scale power generation, which will reduce the cutting of trees. We are also aware of the fact that a lot of mining is taking place, coal mining in Odisha, sustainable coal mining, and preventing the emission control. We have developed in Gujarat online emission monitoring. Maybe online emission monitoring and control can go as a good technology for reducing emissions in the industries. Go to Jharsuguda, go to Angul, go to any place you see, The entire skyline is covered with clouds of smoke, clouds of pollutants, and like that. I was wondering what went wrong. Why did the pollution control board and these enforcement agencies did not even think of taking some steps to control the pollutions taking place in a big way in the skyline of the state, especially in the industrial zones in Jharsuguda or Angul or anywhere else. So friends, as our friend was telling from Uttarakhand, government of India has brought out various legislations over the years, starting from 1970s till today, whether it is Forest Conservation Act, whether it is Water Act, Air Act, or Environment Protection Act, or Coastal Zone Management Act, or Plastic Pollution Control Notifications, etc., etc. Several such legislations have been brought in. Today, it covers large areas of sources of industrial activities, economic activities, including mining, construction activities, chemicals industries, as well as the pharma industries and whatnot. Specific provisions have been provided for checking and controlling the emissions or degradation of water, etc., etc. And time has come, we have to scrupulously and legally, those who are proponents of this industry also have to take it seriously. And apart from the enforcement mechanism, time has come for a understanding of self-regulations, self-compliance. If you are aware of all that is happening in Sabarmati, all the news reports you must have seen and the High Court pronouncements in the last few months and days, all over India, you must have seen how the judiciary has come down heavily on the massive degradation of the river water. You know, we had issued an advertisement years before. People will die and the death will be caused by the degradation of environment. This holds good today, and let us understand and do our best. And this is an occasion for comprehension, occasion for reflection, and occasion for action. With that, I'd like to complete and close my address to this august audience. Thanks a lot, friends, for inviting me, and thanks to our friend Jagannath, who has been very pivotal in bringing me up, whether it is in Gujarat or in Odisha or in Delhi, to be part of these various deliberations for the development of the state. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Das has elaborately said about all the details, when what is the requirements, what is happening, and what we should do. The recommendation, he said, about the establishment of a specialist organization related to weather forecasting or weather management. We will take it, sir. I will request our chairman, Executive Connect, Dr. Dheeraj Singh, who is also a environmentalist. He will definitely take it up with the state and the center. Thank you. Thank you for your enlightenment. Now I request Sri Manoranjan Pati. He will speak about our about this topic. Now over to Mr. Pati, please. Dr. Dheeraj.
Yes.
Yes,
Mr.
yes, yes, yes.
Mr. Pati?
Hutta, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Hutta. Manoranjan
Oh,
Hutta,
yeah.
please.
Sorry, I
Yes.
was just waiting for maybe some Mr. Pati would be there. So sorry.
Sir, Manoranjan Hutta, please, 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 please.
Thank you. Sorry, actually I could join late. କାହିଁକି ନା ମୋର ସେ link ଟା ଯୋଉ ହେଇଥିଲା ସେଟା ବୋଧେ somehow desktop ରେ connect ହେଇପାରୁନଥିଲା. So ମୁଁ ଏବେ try to connect in through the mobile, so I'm able. Thank you for inviting me. Thanks, Dr. Dheeraj, for organizing such a good event. Actually, this is the time of the hour of the time, when we need all to sit down and see that, environment sustainability is only not should be as a, in words, but we should also do something in action. At least, छोटो जिनिसरू actually we should grow bigger. Even if we have not done something great as an organization so far. Kintu I mean dekhuchu how things are happening all across the world. Both anthropogenic and natural disasters are coming up, and more than the natural disaster, I mean dekhuchu it is more of anthropogenic. I mean the human generated disasters. One of the greatest anthropogenic disaster which we have been seeing now, the Russia and Ukraine war, where everybody is now engaged, passively or actively into this war. So these are the future environmental issues and problems which will be coming up, whether it will be chemical pollution, whether it is noise pollution, whether it will be waste pollution, and more so there will be a great, we have been seeing a great refugee who have already started gone out of Ukraine and established elsewhere near neighboring countries. So those are the major problems. I remember when we used to negotiate internationally for the waste management and chemicals, and which has a clear linkage with the climate change. Actually, that's what we कहले. So many instances there is how climate changes are happening, what are the causes. Rather than I'm not going to those again, but what we understood, even if we don't go by the war per se right now, but there is a lot of migration which are happening, is just like a osmotic pressure. Wherever there is a better climate, people are transferred. If you see Africa to Europe, even the Middle East to Europe or North America, everywhere, now people started migrating. So this is one of the greatest example one must see. Even if you see Orissa, many people are also migrating from the low harvesting area to better harvesting area where there are more employments, everything is coming. So we also need to address those issues, understand at least that if the migration is really an environmental problem, in many issues now in Africans or Europe, in internationally, the refugee which are coming out of the less privileged countries or societies to a better privilege, is largely due to the environmental issues. Like in India, we also brought out so many legislations right from as 1974 onwards, right from the International Summit on the Environment and Development. So, and there are a lot of judicial activism also happening right from the National Green Tribunal, High Court, Supreme Court. So we have lot of issues, lot of sensitization, lot of deliberation all across the society, cutting across all strata of thinkers, active partners, governments, and non-government organizations. So what actually, in my opinion, is required is we must understand the dynamics of not only the basic, talk of the waste management, you talk of the wastewater management, you talk of the forest management. Everything has linked to the climate as well as to the societal issues. So these probably we need to, as a this doesn't require much technology as an organization like us go into detail of technology, but we must see from the social point of view, small how this environmental impacting the society as a whole, and its economic impact on those um, people who are given. So therefore, Odisha is a coastal city. We have also, come across and discussed in the ministry in many of these meetings that how these CRZ regulations, which have come in 2011 and now is, revised in 2019. So those, coastal zones are being redrawn based on the climatic conditions, geopolitical, socio-economic issues. So those probably we need to see as a society, as an organization, particularly with reference to Odisha. We need to see those issues. And largely, what I feel, see, government has been doing its own part, bringing the regulations, bringing the policies, bringing enforcing, but we cannot say that government has to do everything. So in my opinion, probably there has to be a kind of civic sense, it has to be regenerated, reignited. So this public-private partnership, civics, I mean, the people and the government together has to work out like public-private partnership with regard to, then only we can talk of there is a sustainability, environmental, and every individual is responsible, and therefore we can say that environment sustainability for self-reliant India or self-reliant Odisha need to be, thought of and being implemented all our action plan. In the entire process, perhaps when we talk of self-reliance, skilling for green jobs is one of the key issues where perhaps we need to address, whether it is a waste management, or the plastic waste management, or the electronic waste management, whether it is a wastewater management, whether it is mining, and we have been talking of the sustainable mining. How can we reclaim after the mining is over? So I think many of these areas probably is required when we talk of self-reliance. We must talk on the skilling where we are. There is a dichotomy in this. One, we are creating the economic conditions of those people who are working there or the inhabitants in and around there, and also we are creating green jobs. So I think if we see, when you talk of self-reliance, we must see the skilling for green jobs in this area. It will be for health. It will be any other issues. I think in sum and substance, I would like to keep my thought process to limited issues when we talk of the self-reliance in terms of environmental sustainability. So maybe our organization can think of how can we best take out those nuances and implement so that environmental sustainability and scaling for green jobs can be put together so that we can address all those small elements which finally address the environmental sustainability. I think I must stop here, Dhiraji, with this small suggestion. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hota. Very small and concise, but you have told many things in this limited period. And your suggestions, as you told our organization will do, will, with cooperation of yours and all the people here, we can do many things. And now the question answer session is there. But the thing is that time has been crossed, so we'll take very limited questions. There are 2 questions I have already seen. They are available here. So, Mr. Karthik Jena, please have your question, please, and you can.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
You can
Yes,
ask to the
Jai
panelists.
Jagannath.
You can ask to the
Okay.
panelist of your choice.
We have heard about the webinar today, but it is more of the data, not the practical aspect of the webinar. So let us know what we can do best ourselves in contributing the. How we can sustain the environment by doing ourselves. That is my question.
So the question is to whom?
Who can reply? The
Okay.
panelists, if they are available on the panel, or
Yes,
anybody
yes,
else.
yes, yes. All are available. Murtuja sir, what is your recommendation for that sustainability? For that self-reliance?
Common things which we can do as an individual, what we can do best.
Yes, yes, yes.
So if we look at the problem of sustainability, there are two approaches. One is the macro level approach. Other one is the micro level approach. The macro level approach is adopted by the policy planning strategy at the international level, followed by the national level, then state level, and the district level. And for that purpose, there are various action plans, strategies, guidelines, just like 10-point plan action plans of Honorable Prime Minister, which is for climate change. And like that, we have got the SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals, adopted by United Nations. We have also framework like IPCC and also UNFCCC, which is also following up this one. And that is being followed at the policy level and the institutional level. But apart from that, as a human being, as a part of the society, every individual has also a role and responsibility towards the sustainable development. I would say that we all know what are the issues. We all know what we can do, but we do not do, just like Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was knowing that he cannot return from that Chakravyuha, but still he went inside. Like that, we know what are the environmental degradations caused by the greenhouse gases. We know what are the sources of greenhouse gases. We know what are the carbon footprints. We know how can we minimize those carbon footprints. But for our human comfort, for our individual selfishness, we do not compromise, and also we do not implement in real time. So I will say that if we realize and assess ourselves, what is the carbon footprint of each of us, and we will monitor regularly, at least once in a year, how much I have reduced the carbon footprint, so that I have helped the society, human society, to minimize the impact of the anthropogenic gases and hence the climate change. I feel that will be a very important step towards that. All of you might be knowing that online you can assess the carbon footprint of yourself. So for example, if you are sitting in a room, closing all doors and windows so that inhibiting the sunlight and putting off all the bulbs, then you are increasing the carbon footprint, because the bulb which you are blowing in your house, it is being done by the hydropower or by the thermal power. And these powers contribute towards the generation of anthropogenic gases, including the carbon. So that if you really want to minimize the source, then you can do on yourself with respect to your own lifestyle, with respect to your own habitat. This is just one example. The second example I will tell you, if you are not watching TV, there is no point in keeping it on. If you are not sitting in the room, there is no point in keeping AC on. There is no point in keeping the TV on, AC on, everything on. Similarly, just to assure that the food does not go bad, we keep the fridge completely on. But if you are not utilizing the food, if you are taking the rotten food, what is the need? You can take the fresh food and minimize the use. And prior to her death, Sushma Swaraj, madam, told one very important point, that let us stick to 25, the rule 25. whether all of you remember or not, I don't know. She suggested that we should not go below the temperature of 25 degrees Celsius while running AC. How many of us follow it? If we follow it, if we do not open your AC with temperature less than 25 degrees Celsius, certainly you can minimize the gases which is contributing towards the global warming, and hence you can develop the sustainability of the environment. Similarly, if you can avoid purchasing multiple of cars, multiple of scooters and scooties and motorcycles, you can minimize the transport sector emission of the gases. Similarly, if you can adapt to walking to a certain extent in a particular day, for example, Sunday, then it can help you with your, you can take like a promise. Then only you can be an example better than the precept. What we do nowadays, we just go on precept, not go it for example. If you can do it like this in an individual level, and if you can do it in this in a community level, certainly it will help to minimize the losses, to minimize the adverse impact of the greenhouse gases, and hence maximize the sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Really
sir.
great.
Thank you, sir. Now there is a question from sir, Mr. HK Das. Mr. HK Das is wanting to have a response to this question. Okay.
You wanted to say something? Yes.
Friend, in short, I'll say that, we have to conserve water and we have to conserve energy. We have to plant trees. We have to avoid plastic. We have to ensure sustainable waste disposal means waste should not be lying helter-skelter. Then awareness in our neighborhood or wherever we are, then we should also avoid paper napkins. The more napkins we use, more trees are cut. So like this, there may be many do's and many don'ts, but these are things as individual, as a person, you and I and all of you. And friends, we are a state of temples. What does the temple teach us? In fact, the temples were constructed in Odisha not as to symbolize the victory of wars or politics. They are part of politics, yes, but they are also part of environment. They were teaching what to do. They are teaching to keep your body and mind clean. They are teaching you to keep your environment clean. Plant trees. Worship. We have to worship trees, So therefore, all the things we can do. That the backlight or the flag on the top of the temple are a great source of inspiration and knowledge, much more than what our IPCC or climate convention has given. So this is what we can do individually.
Thank you, sir. Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Can I just say?
Who?
I also ask
Can I just
any question.
Yes. Mr. Patnaik.
Yes. Just to sum up, I would say three things. The panelists and enlightened panelists have spoken it rightly. But to sum it up, I'll just say three things. One, reduce your water and electricity bill by not depending on the government to reduce it, but by optimizing the use of these resources. Number two, plant a tree on your special occasion, your birthday, marriage anniversary, etc. And number three, maintain cleanliness around yourself. I think as a citizen, if we do these three things, we would really be contributing greatly to this to ensure sustainability of our environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's sir.
Sunan and Babu, if you permit me, I'll add one more thing.
Yes, please.
When we organize events in Gujarat, we organize events. The chief minister used to go and attend the events. People would be tempted to give a lot of, like gifts in terms of books, in terms of swords, in terms of, flowers. So one of our chief ministers said, when you are coming me or want to give some gift, do not give me flowers, do not give me books, do not bring sports, but bring a pot of plant and a bowl of fruits. The plant would be planted in the school and the fruits would be delivered to children. This is perhaps I could get a message protecting.
Great practical examples given by you all. Thank you. Thank you. Next
Thank you very
question
much.
is from Ajit Kumar Mahanti. Sri Ajit Kumar Mahanti.
I think Karthik Babu has covered the question that I had.
Okay.
So thanks.
Okay, Mr. There is a hand is up. Sushant. Sushant, you have raised hand. Is there anything?
Yes. Yeah. There is a question from my end.
Yeah.
At the places there is scarcity of water.
Your audio is
some of the places there is support. Hello, am I audible now?
Sorry,
am I audible now?
Your audio. Yes. No. Now. Yeah.
Okay. So there are at some of the places there is scarcity of water and some of the places there is surplus of water. Either government of India or government of Odisha, are they running any project or are they planning any project to neutralize all those?
Okay. Question to whom? Your question to whom?
Anyone can answer, sir.
Okay.
Anyone can answer this. Okay.
Okay. It's that's sir.
Yes.
That's sir.
Please.
This is regarding river surplus and where somewhere is surplus, somewhere is scarcity. How to manage it?
Okay. I think I can start my video and speak. You see, friends, how to answer this question is also very interesting, and it is a topic which is very close to my heart. You see, I was Additional Chief Secretary, Water Supply for a long time in Gujarat. Just bear with me. Gujarat is a very water sparse district, state. The northern Gujarat and Saurashtra region, their precipitation level is many times it is minus. All waters are stored in southern Gujarat, and Saurashtra and northern Gujarat will never used to get rainfall more than 14 to 15% of the total. 17. What did Gujarat do to bring water from the surplus area to the water affected area? One, through interbasin transfer. Okay. Through canals and pipelines. I am not only privy, but I am also architect of that. Not engineer, but I am also architect of that program by which we to bring water from the southern Gujarat to the parched land of Kutch and northern Gujarat through canals and pipelines. Of course, they are capital intensive projects, but it was the determination of the government of Gujarat to do it, and it is a model for the entire country. Even many other countries also they come to study how Gujarat has done it. So interbasin transport through canals and pipelines, that is one. Number two, interlinking of river. That Ken Betwa scheme is being talked in the budget in Madhya Pradesh. Interlinking of river could be another big possibility. Take the case of Polavaram. Of course, it is affecting Odisha. What did Andhra Pradesh they do? They also went for this interlinking of rivers, Krishna River. So they are capital intensive, futuristic, but this is one way we can solve the water crisis of the country for a long time. Then we should go for rainwater harvesting. You know, our grandmothers, grandfathers used to preserve wells within their house. Maybe in the eastern Odisha, you must have seen. There would be wells, or in Ganjam, you'll find within the house itself, there will be a well under your that courtyard. So water harvesting culture of the state and the country must be, revived. So these are certain things you can do. That apart, the cultivation also, water hungry crops. Rice is a water hungry crop. Water hungry crops must be avoided. There must be cropping pattern must change. Like this, several such examples I can give. These are a few things we can do to ensure water moves from the surplus area to deficit areas.
Sir, there is a question from Thailand, Mr. Dr. Adris, Dr. Adris Brahmabat, for Mr. Patnaik. How Odisha forest contribute to economy, peace, and environment? What are the more things need to do? What is your advice? A small answer, please. Mr. Patnaik.
Yeah. I mean, as far as Odisha Forest Department is concerned, I'm really not much aware about the programs and policies that is being implemented, as I'm from Uttarakhand cadre. And during my speech, I spoke a lot about what the Forest Department in Uttarakhand is doing to ensure forest and wildlife sustainability. But because forest and wildlife does not see any boundary, the forest patch is continuous, vegetation is contiguous, animal movement is continuous. So the policies and programs which are being implemented in Uttarakhand, by and large, apply to the state of Odisha also. Uttarakhand is a Himalayan state. Odisha is more of a state in the hinterland, having coastal areas also. To my knowledge, the government of Odisha has launched upon various projects, World Bank funded, JICA, Asian Development Bank funded projects to ensure eco restoration works, afforestation works, development of the watershed, to handle the man-animal conflict mitigation measures, to ensure the sustainable sustainable maintenance of various flagship species populations like tiger in Simlipal, elephant, and such other species. A lot of works are being undertaken by the Forest Department Odisha with regard to bamboo plantation, roadside plantations, and also plantation of those species which are important from the production forestry point of view. That means the species which can be harvested at a shorter period of within a certain period of time to generate revenues. So these are some of the programs which the Forest Department Odisha are taking up to the best of my knowledge to ensure the sustainable development in this sector.
Thank you. Thank you. Now the time is going up. I request Professor Satyabhushan Das, Chair Professor, BPCL Chair Professor CCMI, me of IIM Lucknow, Noida campus. He is our Vice President, POVS Vice President, for validatory speech. Professor Satyabhushan.
Yeah. So actually, I don't want to spend much time. Thank you, all of you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I will not. I will just take 2-3 minutes time, because very enriching information. A lot of discussion has been taken place, and Mr. Mahapatra has already elaborated 5 pillars of self-reliance. Also, we have heard from Mr. Sushant Patnaik, H.K. Das, and also Mr. Hutta. A lot of discussion has been taken place. I'll just want to add 1 or 2 points. Lot of things are going on in our academic also. We have a PGP course on sustainable management. Nowadays, most of the companies, they are hiring people from sustainable management so that certain development can be taken place in the organization. Sustainable thinking, innovation. Most of our students are working in big corporates. I teach a course, sustainable marketing and sustainable consumer behavior. Just want to add 3, 4 points. A lot of things are happening. We are doing this discussion. You see, UN climate change conference, sustainable development goal. A lot of things are happening. Today, also very interesting question has been asked by one of our participants regarding that what is the role of individual, whether if individual want, whether he can contribute or not, and also we have heard that how individual can contribute. You just see this lady, she's showing the frustration in front of wears a wedding dress decorated with 999 face masks for a performance at artwork, Marry the Blue Sky, as she poses the photograph in front of China Central Television Headquarters in a hazy day, Beijing, wearing 10-meter long wedding dress decorated with face masks to show her frustration. If we are not actually taking care of these things, what will be the problem? She wants to show this thing. And also, I will just want to, sorry, slides are not going, just a minute. Actually, I am not so much comfortable with this Cisco. I generally use,
Okay, no, so we can talk.
Yeah. So you see these roads, Beijing road, and how much the gas emission and everything. Beijing toll station in Bhubaneswar also, this kind of things are happening. And there is a headache. Everything is happening. Somebody has told also black swan, black elephant. We know everything is happening within ourselves, and a serious problem that is visible to everyone, but no one seems to be willing to address. Sustainable development. What are the major things that can be done? I think some micro and macro intervention is required. And for example, marketing angle, I am a professor in marketing. Marketing, demand creation, and job creation. We are telling most of the companies, India will soon have 5th of the world's working age. So most of the people are doing a lot of products. These products, when that is used by us, how much unemployed problem ke liye we are doing unsustainable products, environment hazardous products, and we are arguing that because these products we are making, there is some employment growth is there, companies are taking the plea, so that is also adding to the GDP and economic growth. But what is the challenge? What is this challenge they are facing? I will give you some good examples. Nowadays, conspicuous virtuous consumption arriving in a Toyota Prius hybrid car. So in different occasions, these sustainable products are shown to make the aspiration of the consumers, they should use sustainable products. I'll just touch upon 3 things: consumption elimination, consumption reduction, and consumption redirection. How can eliminate those things which are unsustainable, eliminate consumption, consumption reduction, how can reduce, and redirection. Redirection means which is ecologically more harmful to ecologically less harmful substitute products. So this thing any individual can do if the government cooperates. Consumption elimination, so that we can have a demand elimination. Consumption reduction, demand reduction. Consumption reduction, demand reduction. I'll give you some examples. For example, we are using this kind of products, power inverters, household item, largely disappear if uninterrupted. This will not be used if uninterrupted power supply by the public utility were to be become a reality. People are not getting uninterrupted power supply, the public utility. So quantity gap in the public good. That's why people are using this thing. So we can always eliminate this thing if the macro level policy is done. Similarly, this kind of products, water quality because these are not recycled properly, there is a lot of hazardous effect. If the water will be quality water will be supplied to house, people will not use this kind of products. So uninterrupted water supply, no quantity gap in public good, safe to drink, no quality gap in public good. So quality and quantity both, we are not getting good water. And these companies, they are taking the plea, we are giving a lot of employment by making this kind of product. If government will do uninterrupted water supply, also a lot of employment can be generated. Water, everywhere we can do, like milk nowadays, they are keeping the water ATM. Anybody wants, anytime they will get good water, quality water. Similarly, there is another issue, Jugaad innovation, lot of innovations, consumption reduction, that quantity gap, substantially uninterrupted water supply, and there are a lot of innovations that is taken place where people can, you say, Jugaad mein they do drip irrigation by using this water bottle and everything. They use drip irrigation in the villages. A lot of grassroots innovation is taking place in villages. What kind of substitute can be done of this unsubstituted product? Because in villages, people know our sustainable, because we have to learn from the village people how they are not using these products, what kind of substitute products they are using, and they can do a better life. So this consumption, this is a transportation system. If you have a good consumption redirection, if public transportation system is very good, now people are very comfortable to go in metro, because they tell that metro is very good, less time, there is no traffic jam. So if in Karana I was there for some time, 1 year, I've seen the public transportation is so good. Most of the people go in transport system, although that individualist society people don't want to travel in group, but they're traveling because there is more comfortable, there is no stress and everything. But because we have not a good public transportation system, substitute is that people use car and there is a road jam. So this consumption elimination and zero, how you can do zero demand of this sustainable product, government, these three things, intrinsically zero demand products, intrinsically low demand products, ecological more harmful substitute products. So there are two things what we tell in our studies, 1 versus 2. People want to do don't want to do environment protection, but they do not do because there is no availability. Second is that these pleasing products, those who are ecologically more harmful products, government is giving encouragement to do that kind of production. Whereas those who are sustainably more viable, environmental friendly products, more nature friendly, this kind of products ke liye jaise Ujjala Chola. Because of this chula, how many people in rural villages tuberculosis happen this open chula? How much green emission is happening? Compact chulas also nowadays we are teaching a case environment fit. How much carbon dioxide emission they have reduced? So we should encourage more sustainable innovation, which is basically substitute to our environmental hazardous products. As I have given 3 examples, there are so many examples. I don't want to unnecessarily bore you, but these 3 examples that we have a good transportation system. How can reduce this car, more private cars, and similarly we have, for example, quality water supply. This water purifier and everything reduction will be happening. You have an uninterrupted water electrical supply, this inverter should not be used. There are so many examples. I think there should be some conducive environment. This is consumer goods. Similarly, everywhere grassroots innovation, we should encourage more innovation so that we can go to their old system. What lot of things can happen. Unnecessarily, you are using these the products which are very much harmful for the society, people, planet, and also in future, what we are telling pragmatic future, most of the companies now transforming to this chemical hazardous to the sustainable products, because they see that people are now very, very environment conscious. So companies are going backwards. With this, I would like to conclude. Thank you very much. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, hearing.
I would like to
Please,
conclude.
please conclude within short span.
I have concluded. I thought that
Ah.
thank you very much. I just want to add these points. I don't want to again repeat what others have already.
So nice of you. It is very nice.
I want to say one point here is the natural farming or organic farming is the important point in environment.
Yes, Jagannath bhai. Yes.
Because
Yeah,
natural
yeah.
farming is not new concept in Bharat. Natural organic agriculture should be the practice in the careful, responsible manner to benefit our present and future generation.
Yes, I fully agree.
Okay. Response from Das sir.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, very much.
Organic farming is the next generation technology that everybody and all of us have to adopt. You know, but Jagannath has rightly said he has also experience in a few places. In fact, there are many proponents, including our governor of Gujarat, have been propagating the concept of organic farming. And in fact, Odisha, we never knew about chemical fertilizers or anything for a very, very long time. Our was really organic agriculture only. If we do not adopt organic agriculture, then what happens? Number one, the insecticide and the pesticides and the chemicals that are used in agriculture, they will pollute the water. And water we drink will lead to all kinds of diseases, including cancer. So therefore, reducing or making it nil of use of these chemical fertilizers is the crying need of the time. And secondly, what we have seen is that the natural farming not only retains the soil fertility, but also it brings out the best quality products. So therefore, natural farming is not only sustainable, but also it would, contain the deterioration taking place because of use of chemical fertilizers. And secondly, pollution also takes place because of these fertilizer plants. Water pollution, air pollution. I talked of water pollution. So therefore, we have a lot of possibilities and justification for going for natural farming, and it's a welcome step.
Sir, I think agriculture is contributing the second highest carbon footprint and
Yes.
also responsible for global warming.
Yeah.
And you have rightly said that if we change the agriculture, one is industry and second is agriculture.
Yeah.
So if these two sectors, mega sectors, can seriously think of alternate approach, less carbon footprint related approach, that would be really good. And I think one of our friends discussed about the carbon credits, because if you put it in a business form, I think that would be very good. So if our panelists can throw some light on carbon credit systems, so that would be great. This is my request, sir.
Yes, in the carbon credit, we will go for a program in future, and the relevant speaker will be called for that. We'll definitely take your advice. Thank you. We have Mr. Priya.
Thank you, sir.
Priya. He is the advisor to federal government of Australia, and he has a point to add. Mr. Priyabrat Priyo.
Namaskar everyone from Singapore. Actually, I'm on an official tour. I'm sorry, it's really late in the night, and Dheeraj Singh ji just invited me to join the webinar. I was informed, but I was pretty busy at the moment. I am the advisor to OSTRAC, the Financial Intelligence Agencies of Afghan government, but pretty active in alumni association of JNU. I have been a JNU alumni member, association member, and globally active in many countries in connecting AAJ with our diaspora NRIs friends, basically from JNU and other institutions of the country. I belong to Odisha originally, and my native place is Puri, Jagannath Puri, and I have been following all these developments in the state since long. When I was a student in JNU in Delhi, and I was involved in many Odia organizations in Delhi, and with many big sorts names at that time before I left the country. I was politically active. This is why knows also. Anyway, the development I was discussing when Pratap Sarangi was the minister in the center. They organized a webinar and they invited me to get my points when he was a MSME minister, and MSME was getting around 3 lakhs crores of rupees, and a large chunk of MSME funds were being diverted to Odisha for all-round development, and mostly were earmarked. Most funds were earmarked for developing marine sectors, agriculture sectors, and environment. That Minister Sarangi informed me. So I had suggested or advised 10-point programs how we can get out of COVID and from COVID impact, and we can make a all-round development at the base. I am not an environment person, or I'm not a scientist. So, but as a layman who understands the development of the state, my father-in-law was a general manager in Tata. I've seen Tata, when they start a project in any part of the state, and my dad was also was general manager in IDCOL, Industrial Development Corporations. I can make you the difference. Industrial Development Corporation was started by Biju Patnaik, and with 24 factories all around the states. But the problem was that the government-run organization PSU couldn't successfully see through the environment impact of industries, and they couldn't do anything to minimize the environment impact of mines or industries. But whereas Tata is doing, Tata's environment division is doing, and before setting up a project or a plant, they make sure that environment is restored or environment is safe. So that thing I've seen. But after the super cyclone, you must have remembered 1998. Myself with a few JNU students, we went to Odisha with Care Odisha. We distributed the plants, many 1 lakh plants in Jagatsinghpur area. And we requested the people, we put longers there. In 1998, I remember I was leading that team with the artist Jatin Das. And we requested the people. But if the motivation do not come from the people, we gave 1 lakh small plants, small charas and all. But nobody was interested. I mean, every year we are losing lakhs of plants, crores of plants in natural calamities, in cyclone and tornado in Odisha. We all know that. But what is the replacement? The basic. I'll emphasize one basic thing. Just one basic thing. Plantation, plantation, plantation. That's it. I will not tell too much. It's too late in Singapore now. I was actually sleeping in. I'm in a half sleep. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I'm extremely sorry, and I apologize for my very short speech without a video. But I'll be connected with the organization, and I will do my best to make it happen to reconnect this organization through Dheeraj Bhai to other parts of the country, other parts of the world I'm connected to. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Mr. Priyavrata. We welcome you to be part of the POVS too. In the global arena, we will establish it. Thank you. Now I request Mr. Akram Haq, the editor of the Policy Time, who is the partner of this program, to have vote of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
One thing, Mr. Akram, before Mr. Akram saying anything, please everybody open their camera so that we can take the shots.
Yeah.
Thank you. Over to Mr. Akram.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I'm really proud to be part of this program. And there is a very famous quote which says that the world is enough to fulfill everyone's need, but not even one single person's greed. So we have enough resources in the world which is enough to satisfy our needs, what we need to survive in this world or live a happy life. But it is not enough to fulfill even one single person's greed, because greed is something. So sir was talking about consumption. Conspicuous consumption is something, if we can stop, consumption is the basic foundation of sustainable living. So we can take care, if we can take care of that, sustainable living or sustainable development will not be a problem. Whether it is uncontrolled capitalism or over-controlled socialism, both have its own negative connotations. So we need a complete different kind of thing. The second thing is prevention is better than cure. Often when there is a damage, we talk about recovery from it. So if we take preventive actions, we save not only economic wealth but also a lot of time which normally we invest in the economy. The third word which became very famous recently, post-pandemic or during pandemics, warriors. I think all our people who are joined in this conference today, especially starting with our speakers, they have been wonderful. Saturday evening, late evening, in fact, this is the high time for dinner, and this is a day where most of the people, dedicate for their family, for their, loved ones, and they are dedicating this time for the nation, for the society, for the world. I mean, hats off to all of you, and you are real warriors for this nation, for this world. Investing this is a precious time, and you are investing it on a cause which really deserves huge applaud. I want to welcome the entire Pravasi Odia Divas Vikash Samiti family. I think all the people who are here, you have given your speeches. I have heard wonderful speeches by our speakers, Dr. Mrityunjay Mahapatra sir, wonderful, I think, detailed presentation. Then H.K. Das sir, sharing the Gujarat experience and then sharing a lot of other best practices and important points. Then we had CCF from Uttarakhand sir, Sushant Kumar Patnaik sir, again sharing a lot of valuable points. Then in the end, the way valedictory speech was done by Professor Satyabhushan Das sir was absolutely amazing and very crisp, which summarized the whole discussion. So all our speakers, thank you so much for your valuable contribution. Also the organizers, POVS has been really kind to pull up this wonderful session, and partnered by BRICS Chamber of Commerce, GRC India, SCPC, and we Policy Times as a small organization trying to contribute in the field of policy development. Without contribution and effort of all these organizations, this program would not have been possible. But last but not the least, the moderator, CS Surya Narayan Mishra sir, what a wonderful coordination and patience you have invested your time, and the way you have coordinated the whole thing. You deserve a lot of applause, and thank you so much for chairing such a wonderful program. Also, a special thanks to Dr. Dheeraj Kumar Singh, the ever energetic, the most focused and the most dedicated human being that I have ever seen. I think Dr. Singh, I have never seen him tired. I have never seen him less of energy. It may be 3 o'clock in the night, and he will just start the mic, and he can start singing, and the whole night he can sing. So that's the kind of energy he has, and he's well connected with everyone in the fraternity. So he can bring in everyone, anyone, and involve them in the constructive journey of the nation. The way he is investing his time towards sustainable development in the country and taking different organizations together, I think the country will gain enormously in the longer run. I think with this, I will formally, and the most important thing, all the beautiful people, audience, participants who have joined us from across the world, different countries, without your patience, your participation, this program would not have been a success. So you are no less than warriors. You are equally the warriors, investing time at late evening on the Saturday. So thank you everyone for joining us in this beautiful program.
Next is the national anthem.
We all may stand. Thank you.
Please stand. Please.
भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना उच्छल जलधि तरंग तव शुभ नाम जय तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 जय
भारत माता की जय. Thank you everyone. Namaskar. Jai Jagannath.
Sir, can we please turn all our cameras on for a last group snapshot?
Yes. Please. Das sir. Deepak Jana bhai, Vijaya, Deepak Ranjan Gana, Dharmendra Mishra, Patnaik Babu. Please.
वीडियो ऑन कर दियो.
अरे तुम्ही तो करा CME IML नड्या. नंदिनी मैडम, ईशानी मैडम, आनंद भाई, विजय, ममता, सर्वानंद, साहू. Thank you.
So Jai Jagannath to everyone.
Jai Jagannath. Next meeting will be there. Please request everybody to join. Thank you, GRC team. Thank you.
Thank you. Jai Jagannath.
Piyush. Manoj Patkonda. Acknowledge. Adris bhai. Deepika ji. Pramod bhai. Julu. Anand bhai. Dr. Ishani Priya. Darshani Priya. Thank you everybody. Namaskar. Good night.
Thank you for organizing such a lovely program and informative program.
Manaspati, I am seeing Manas.